Guys, it is Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing, and I'm here with another weekly wrap up. So I got 5 books read this week and I wanted to talk about some of the books that I did read. I do have some book reviews coming out this week as well, so I won't be talking about a couple of the books at length because I will obviously be doing that in my video review. Before I get into the books that I read, I just wanted to quickly talk about something. I have a link down below in the description box. It is a link to donate money for a charity, and what it is, it's my dad is doing the Camino de Santiago walk in May, and he's hoping to raise a bit of money for the Beaumont Hospital Foundation in Dublin, Ireland. Beaumont Hospital is a hospital obviously in Dublin, and he's hoping to raise money for the oncology unit in this hospital. So he's just raising a little bit of money, so if anyone is willing to donate €5, €10, €20, if you're willing just to, you know, do a bit of good in the month and want to donate a bit of money, I'm going to leave a link down below, and obviously it'll be much appreciated if anyone is willing to give a little bit of money. The link gives I think €20, €25, €50, €100, but you can actually tailor your donation yourself. It doesn't have to be those amounts that are on the screen. You can put in your own amount, so you can give €5 if you want, you can give €25 if you want. It's up to yourself. So I just thought I'd quickly put that in just for a wider audience. Obviously you don't have to do it, it's not book related, nothing. I just thought it would be worth it just to talk about it for a few minutes and just let people know that it is down there in the description box. So now I'll get on to the books that I've read, now that I have that out of the way. The first book that I read this week was Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. As you guys know, I am doing a giveaway and book review for this at the end of this week on Friday, the 31st of March. And so I'm not going to talk about this too much. Again, the giveaway is still open, so if you do want to be entered for a giveaway for this, there's 3 copies up for grabs, so please go and comment on that video. I will leave a link to it up above somewhere, so if you do want to win a copy, please go and comment on that video so I can put your name into the draw. So I will say this is just a thriller about a woman who is in a coma, and she can remember her name, she knows that she has a husband, but she can't really remember how she got in the coma, but she does believe that her husband doesn't love her anymore, and she's kind of suspecting that maybe he had something to do with why she's in the coma, or maybe like other people that she knows have something to do with it. So we're kind of going through this kind of now and then kind of thing. We're finding out about her life before she was in the coma, and then what she's hearing while she's in the coma and can't wake up properly. And she's herself is guessing what's going on. She can't figure it out, we're trying to figure it out, and it's just really, really intense. It's absolutely crazy. Some of the bits at the end of it were just insane, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I did really enjoy it. The next book that I read is Chasing Embers by James Bennett. This is a book that was sent to me like the end of last year by Orbit, and I'm only getting around to it now, but this is a really, really great book. I really enjoyed this one. This is like an urban fantasy, and I'll try my best to explain what's going on in this book because it does take a little bit of time. It's one of those books that you're a little bit confused at first, but it gradually just all clicks and everything makes sense. So we are following a character called Red Ben. His full name is Red Ben Garston, and basically he looks like a human, but he is actually a dragon, and he is a remnant, and a remnant is kind of a mystical creature that is here on Earth. So he's obviously a dragon, but there are different remnants around the world. There are witches, there are fae, and basically in the Middle Ages there was something called the Pact, which was kind of done to protect humans, and then to also make sure that all these mythical creatures, that they were kind of kept safe and they didn't go extinct. Only one creature out of each kind of species kept alive properly, and everyone else went into a long sleep. So Red Ben is basically the only kind of dragon alive in the world. He is the remnant of the dragon species, and there is something called the lore, which is like what they signed. They signed something like a pact, which is part of something called the lore. They signed to say that they agreed with this, and that's kind of protecting him from being killed by other people who want to kill him, that know about him and want to kill him. So yeah, this kind of starts off with Ben just kind of feeling down in the dumps. He's a bit down in the dumps over a girl, and he ends up getting attacked, and he finds out that maybe another dragon has awakened, and they don't know how this has happened because it's not supposed to happen. All the other dragons are supposed to be asleep, but because another dragon has awakened, it means that his life is in danger, and suddenly everyone is trying to kill him, and he has to go and find this other dragon, figure out what's going on. He kind of ends up in this kind of race to save the world in a way, and to save the woman he loves. And we're kind of finding out about his past and just who he is in a way, and like we're finding out more about the world and about all the other mythical creatures that are in this world while he's out on this adventure to try and save the world. So I hope I explained that right, because it is kind of complicated. Like, it took me a while. Like, when I first started reading this book, there was something about it where I was like, oh, I feel like this is probably going to take me a while. I don't feel like I'm really getting into it yet. But then I got to about between 50 to 60 pages, and it was like everything kind of just clicked for me, and I suddenly understood what was going on. I understood the story. I became really invested in the story. I wanted to find out what happened, and yeah, so I did end up enjoying the story as a whole quite a lot. I really like that this wasn't just in one place. Like, Ben like travels around quite a bit. It kind of starts off in New York, he goes to London, he ends up in Berlin for a couple of days, and then a large part of the second half of the book all takes place in Cairo. I did like Ben as a character, and I, to be honest, like completely like fan cast him. Like, Michael Fassbender for some reason was who I was picturing for Red Ben in this, and yeah, like that totally worked for me, so I was happy with that. The one thing was, like, the relationship in it was kind of annoying. Like, he kept going on about this human girl who he loves called Rose, and we get kind of flashbacks to his relationship with her, and he does seem to kind of just treat her as this like treasured object that he owns, and he kind of just like pampers her and treats her like a princess, and almost like locks her away in a tower. Like, he like buys an apartment for her, and it's kind of like the modern day equivalent of the Rapunzel tower. And this all happens, but I feel like this was done on purpose by the author, and that we felt like this, that he was doing this because she was kind of fighting against it, and she was saying, no, I don't want to be this kept woman, like, I don't want you to treat me like this. And near the end of it, she does have, like, she says, she's like, I am not just a like damsel in distress kind of thing, like, I'm not just this prize to be had, and she fights against that, and I did really appreciate that. There was another character in this that he had a lot of chemistry with, and I was actually almost rooting for that rather than his relationship with the human girl. I just felt like it was just really kind of exciting in it, so I really enjoyed that, his kind of interactions with this other character that he did have this chemistry with. I really enjoyed the end of it. I enjoyed how it all came about, and I feel like this is kind of, it looks like there's going to be more novels in this series, and I'm really looking forward to them because I feel like this is a really good kind of urban fantasy series. It's really solid, it's strong, and I feel like this is what I wanted like Serafina to be. I don't know if, I can't remember who wrote Serafina, but that was more of kind of a dragon turning into humans kind of thing, and that one just was really disappointing for me, and I didn't really like it. So I feel like this is more of what I wanted Serafina to be. It's more of this gritty, like hard edged human dragon kind of complex thing, so I did enjoy that a lot more. But definitely for fantasy lovers and for urban fantasy lovers, I think this would be a very exciting read for them. Next book I finished was Southbury Fiend by Lynch. This is a book that was sent to me by the author for review, and it's kind of a YA supernatural story, and it's about this girl called Rel who is a vampire, but her mother and father are her adoptive parents, and they are a succubus and an incubus. And she's living in this community where basically everyone that lives like in her neighbourhood, they're all supernatural creatures. Basically Rel is like kind of coming into her vampiric powers. She's starting to develop them, but she doesn't really know how to go about them. Like, she doesn't know, because her parents aren't vampires, she doesn't know what to expect, and it's kind of scary for her. And then this new guy comes into school, and she really fancies him, and suddenly she is like bloodlusting, and then there is a creature that's going around killing people as well, so she kind of gets involved with that. And there also seems to be a new human hunter on the scene as well, who is hunting the supernatural creatures too. This was like an okay read. It wasn't like a great read for me. It was like kind of like a 3-star, like just a normal kind of 3-star rating for me. But I think a lot of it was to do with the fact that I think this is aimed at like 13, 14, 15 year olds, and obviously at 25 I'm probably a bit out of the proper age range for this. I do love YA stories, but this one for me was just a bit on the younger side, and that I didn't get like as much enjoyment as I might have if I'd been younger reading it. I did enjoy that her parents are very involved in her life. Like, she talks to her parents, they are very caring, they show up a lot in a lot of scenes, like they're looking for her, they're wondering where she is, they get worried if she doesn't come home. So like her parents are there, and like that tends to be a kind of thing in YA stories where the parents just kind of disappear, but her parents are there, so I really like that. And I do feel like the stuff around her I don't know, like her powers developing and getting all these new feelings, like the bloodlust that she's feeling, and just all these different like abilities that she's getting. I feel like that could be really relatable to like teenagers who are 13, 14, and they're dealing with their own kind of feelings and their own body changes and stuff like that. And I just feel like that would be kind of relatable for younger kids reading this, that they can see Rel going through something and they could just kind of almost get how she feels, even though it's not in like a supernatural way. One thing that did annoy me in this book is her crush. She was basically calling him the love of her life, and she'd had about 3 conversations with him, and I just hate when that happens. And I just feel like we didn't really get to know anything about him. It's like she didn't even really know that much about him, and she was like in love with him. But then like we didn't even get that much conversation between the two of them. We didn't get to know who he was, and I just felt like he was there just as this like plot point, this like romantic interest. Like he was just really, really flat for me because we didn't get to know who he was. And then her parents as well, at one point, like she's getting this bloodlust, like she is lusting for blood, and that is a dangerous situation considering she goes to like high school with humans, and then she obviously like is really, really attracted to this one guy and wants to like suck his blood, like, and her parents like don't do anything. They're like, oh yeah, we'll call someone to come and help you, but then like they don't seem to have any concerns about her just like walking around like willy-nilly wanting to feed off people. And I just feel like that was just really like not logical at all for me. I was just like, okay, well, if she wants to like drink blood, maybe don't let her be around humans like until this person can come and like help her. Maybe you should just kind of keep her indoors for a while, or keep her around just supernatural people so she doesn't end up killing someone. And like that was just kind of strange for me. I was just like, okay, like you go and just let her wander around and potentially kill someone, that's grand. There are a few people of colour in this book and LGBT relationships, but they weren't really like the main characters. There was like friends of hers who were gay and were in a relationship together, 2 guys, and I kind of felt like they were there just to tick that box at one point. Like obviously like it's great to have them there, but because they didn't have anything really to do with the plot, or they weren't really like main characters in the story, I would have liked them for them to be there and for their relationship to keep cropping up. I would have just liked them to have been actual main characters and not just these side characters that showed up now and again when she was in school. But overall, like I think this was a good read. Like it wasn't the best read for me obviously, but I think younger readers would really enjoy this, and I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Read was Idaho by Emily Ruskovich. I keep forgetting who writes this for some reason. And this has been talked about a lot on BookTube lately. I feel like I've seen it crop up a good bit, and this is about a family where all we know is one day something really, really violent happens to them in the woods, and this is kind of just follows them from there. And the thing is, like, everyone I know has like really raved about this book, the people who I have seen read it, and I just felt really underwhelmed by it. I thought like it was going to be a bit of like a thriller-ish kind of book, like, but it is a lot more literary fiction. It wasn't really like, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Like I thought we were going to meet the family the day this terrible thing happened and follow them and feel this intensity and like the excitement and the adrenaline and the fear and like all that kind of stuff happening when this violent thing happened. But we don't actually really find out like the whole story like around what happened like for a really, really, really long time. Like we're kind of going back and forth. We're going like 9 years after it happens to the year it happened to 10 years before it happened, and then we're kind of going back and forth between like the parents' lives and their new lives, and just how it affected them and affected the people who come into their lives after the fact, after the terrible thing that happened. And yeah, so I think it just kind of is one of these just like, it just goes through grief and kind of loss and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I kind of felt myself getting bored of it in a few places. Like I was kind of like, oh, like when is this going to end? And it's not that big of a book, it's only 300 pages. But by the time I was between 250 pages, I was kind of like ready for it to be done. And I just kind of got a bit bored of it. And yeah, it just didn't really like thrill me or excite me the way I thought it was going to be, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And the next book and final book I read this week was It Happens All the Time by Amy Hatvany. This is another book that I'm not going to talk about at length today because I do have a review coming out this week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, I have to double check that. But this is a book about a young woman called Amber who comes home after college, and she's like staying with her parents for a while. and basically her best friend, like her best friend in the entire world, rapes her one night when they're out on a night out, and it's kind of how she deals with that, how he deals with it, kind of this like look at when sexual assault happens and when rape happens close to home, when it's someone that you know, when it's someone that you love, and it just shows kind of all those feelings and all those reactions to something like so terrible. And that's all I'm really going to say about it. Like, as I gave it a really strong 3 stars, but I do have a good bit to say about it, so obviously I will be doing that in my proper video review for it. But I do think this is a really important book, and I think it's a really great book, particularly that it shows that this is a sexual assault that happened by someone who the victim was close to, that it wasn't a stranger, that it was someone that she loved and someone that she trusted, and I think that was a really important story to show. And the author was a victim of sexual assault herself. She just did a little bit of like a note at the start of the book where she explained that she was a sexual assault victim, but she never reported it because she was too scared at the time. So I do think like a lot of her own kind of reactions and feelings and stuff come through. Like, it's a very kind of honest portrayal, I think, of a rape victim and their reactions and how they deal with it. And yeah, so I did really like. It's hard to say I enjoyed this book because it's obviously about something really terrible, but for the most part I did enjoy my reading experience of it. I gave it a really strong 3 stars, and I will talk about it more during the week. So that's everything that I read this week. I feel like I didn't read that much. I don't know, I feel like some books took me a bit longer than I thought they would. I would have liked to have gotten more read, but I guess that's the name of the game. I will see you guys again next week for my weekly wrap up. I will see you during the week for my reviews and for the giveaway. Again, if you want to be entered, please comment on that video that I will leave linked, and I'll see you guys again next time.